Hi, this is a recipe to share how to improve your respiratory health as well as your lung capacity. What we're going to make right now is a vegetable soup. The soup has very specific vegetables, each of which are very therapeutic for the lungs, the functioning of the lungs. For example, the main ingredient in this soup is lotus root. If you see lotus root, when you cut it, the cross section of the lotus root, when you put the two together, it actually looks like our two lungs. It's like a miniature version of our two lungs. And so lotus root is known in Ayurveda as well as in macrobiotics to pull out extra mucus and extra fat in the lungs so that we're able to breathe better. And then we have over here carrots, and the carrots are also a root vegetable, and hence root vegetables nourish our legs, the lower part of our body, because they're coming from the root, from under the ground, and they also nourish the lower part of our lungs, and so they nourish deep breath. The other vegetable here is broccoli, and broccoli, because it is very densely the way it's put together and very rich in minerals as well as protein, also has a similar effect because it looks like a little alveoli in the lungs. And to flavor the soup, to make it delicious, we're going to be frying a little bit of onions, garlic, and we will garnish it with spring onions right on top. And after the soup is cooked, we're going to be adding a little bit of fresh ginger juice from grated ginger. And to top it all, we'll add a little bit of a really high quality low sodium soy sauce. So this is the basic format of how we'll be using the soup. Now let's go to the kitchen and see how we make this actually. So we're going to start making the soup, and we will be making this in a heavy based stainless steel pan, as heavy based strong pans also translate into our health and well-being in the long run as more stability and strength as compared to the patla or thin pans, which we should avoid using, especially aluminium as well. So we'll begin with turning on the gas, of course, and we will be using organic sesame oil to fry the onions and a little bit of garlic for the flavor. So I'm going to let the pan heat before I add the onions, so you can touch and see when the pan is hot. And then add a little bit of sesame oil, cold pressed organic sesame oil. I'm going to start with the onions. And saute. As we're sauteing the onions, we're going to add a tiny bit of salt, because salt actually pulls out the bad prana of the onions and makes it a little bit sweeter and tastier. So adding a little bit of salt initially, and as we go along as well. As the onions are cooking, we will take the garlic and fry that as well. For the vegetables, we'll begin with the vegetables that take the longest to cook. So over here, the longest cooking vegetable is carrot. We're going to pour the carrots in and saute. And then we'll add the lotus root. The broccoli, and just stir it in really well, and lower the flame a little bit so that the oil is not getting too hot or burnt. It's smelling really nice and aromatic with the onions and garlic. Now we'll take about 3 to 4 cups of water as per desire and pour that in. take, for the quantity that we're making, I think we can easily take 4 cups of water. And we'll simply cover this and bring this to a boil. So what we did over here was we brought the soup up to a boil. It took about 2 to 3 minutes. After that, we lowered the flame and cooked it on a low flame for another 2 to 3 minutes, or until the vegetables are cooked to desired crunchiness. So here's what that looks like. As you can see, it's cooking now on a lower flame and doing very well. Here is where we add a little more salt so that the soup is, to the desired level of saltiness that we want to taste. And we will also add the white part of spring onions over here, because these are nice when they're slightly crunchy, so we don't want to add them initially because they get overcooked. And then the grated ginger that we have, with clean hands you will just take the ginger and you will simply squeeze the liquid of it into the soup. At this point we can turn the soup off because it's hot, and the ginger juice will cook within its own heat. And we take a little bit of soy sauce to season this, and there you go. We have, and of course that again you can do it to taste as per desire. You can also add sometimes some rice noodles into this to make it more interesting, or have it as it is. And there we go. We'll plate this now and garnish it with spring onions. So here we have the soup that's ready, and it's nice and hot, and we're going to plate it. So we just take the soup and into the bowl have like a good size helping of this. The good thing in this soup is also that the ginger juice and garlic, because they're stimulating, they actually break down the mucus. With the hot liquid, the garlic and the ginger break down the heavy mucus blockages in the lungs, and that really helps increase our lung capacity and breathing capacity. So here we are, soup, and we can garnish it with some spring onions. And if you want, that's up to you, this is optional, you can garnish with some cilantro, that's dhania leaves, or parsley as per choice. So here we have the soup ready.